I'm back. Romando Thomas, host, CEO of The Conversation. Where we left off at, and I was saying, was this. If America had set up a system where everybody can live, then we would probably eliminate as much as, I'm going to take a wild guess and say about 90% of the crime that we see in this nation, especially when it comes to crimes of money. So you got different types of crimes. You have crimes of money, you have crimes of passion. I'm going to deal with the money crimes because crimes of passion and crimes of the insane are different. Crimes of passions are usually relationship type crimes. Crimes of the insane are people that have problems, mental problems. But crimes of money, which is the biggest, what can I say? That's the biggest pool of criminals is crimes of money. Crimes where people are trying to get money. And that's one thing if you're just a greedy person. That's one thing. But if you're trying to survive and pay your bills and take care of your children, that's a necessity. Even though you're dealing in crime. And in this case, like we said, the majority of the crime being the sale of narcotics, the drug business. The drug business, 85% of the black population in prison are in prison because of drug-related crimes. Mostly crimes of money or crimes of use of the drugs. You know, black people are different from white people. We smoke cigarettes. We drink alcohol. We take prescription medication to get high. We do all that. But for many black people, our drug of choice when we get high is marijuana as opposed to alcohol and cigarettes. Now, I'm not saying that black folks don't do alcohol and cigarettes because we do. But for the most part, especially young people, they would rather smoke marijuana. And with that being said, so marijuana of the narcotics, of the drugs that are on the market, realizing that cigarettes and alcohol are also drugs included in this drug scenario. Marijuana is a drug that black people are sort of attached to. And if you notice, cigarettes, alcohol are legal if you're of age. But marijuana is not legal. And marijuana is illegal to the extent that you could end up in prison doing a lot of time behind the use and the sale, distribution of marijuana. I don't know all of the effects of marijuana, how it affects your body and your brain. But I do know, based on what I've seen in my own usage, that if I had to make a choice, being in the land of the free, the United States of America, I would prefer to choose to smoke marijuana than cigarettes. I would prefer to smoke marijuana to get high than drink alcohol. That's just my choice. I don't knock nobody that does it, but that would be my choice. But it's an illegal substance. And it's a substance that I think the nation knows that black people are associated with more so than cigarettes and alcohol. And it's illegal. Put it like this. Marijuana, the sale of marijuana, the use of marijuana, even though a lot of white people use marijuana as well. But black folks, especially young folks, They really like marijuana. And they know that they can make money off of it as well. And create businesses. Pay their bills. But marijuana is illegal in many, many places. And the places now where it's no longer illegal, it's in the hands of white folks making tons of money. Nobody's going to jail for this now. See, now it's about to be legal for white folks to make money. When black folks used it to survive for our economy in the black community, it's a scourge. You're a drug dealer. That's a horrible thing. That's a horrible label, title. Nobody wants to be associated with a drug dealer. You're a drug dealer. When you're a drug dealer, you're hurting your community. So, marijuana actually kind of lifts the black community up. Because marijuana generates enough money to come through the black community for us to pay our bills. This is our business. The business of selling marijuana. That's what black people do in America, all across America. And then you have turf wars and gang wars. Now there are other drugs involved as well, such as crack cocaine and heroin and all that. But for the most part, it's marijuana. Marijuana is the key to the entrepreneurial black experience, to our spending of as much as $1 trillion a year, and to the police coming into the black community in hot pursuit of drug dealers. It's what they use to stop and frisk when they see you riding down the street. Even though they sell blunt wraps, if you're riding down the street and you got one in your mouth, you're getting pulled over. They're thinking that you're smoking marijuana. When they get to the car and they pull you over, the first thing they do is get a quick smell, and they can see it's been marijuana smoked in this car. Now I've got the right to search. Now I can search this car and search you and find out everything that's going on. I can go in everybody's pockets. I can search the car. I can check everybody's record. It's all marijuana. The drug war. This is the drug that lets the police in. This is the drug in the black community that gives the police the ability to chase, to be in hot pursuit. This is the drug that gives the police the ability to seek the other drugs, the cocaine, the mollies, heroin. This lucrative business that is available in the black community. And then some people may say, well, hey, y'all choose a better business, another business other than the drug business. This is what's available in the black community. We don't have ships. We don't have trains, and we don't have planes. So we're not bringing it here. Somebody's bringing it here. And somebody's dumping it in the black community. Because you know our condition. You know that we need to do something because what? We don't have education. We don't have jobs. We don't have money. We're living in the abyss of poverty. So if you bring a lucrative product like marijuana, crack cocaine, we can get in business and sell to each other and steal from one another and rob each other and then kill each other. This is what the drug business does to the black community. And then last but not least, bring the police in with weapons. See, when I think about this whole thing, that's why I said this is brilliant evil. In Chicago, when the police do an investigation 6 months, a year on you, and they're watching you, and they know you're selling, they know who you're getting it from, they're investigating. They got your phones tapped. They're watching your house. They're watching your folks. It's a drug investigation. And then they watch you amass your drug revenue material, the things that you purchase, your car and your jewelry and your furniture and your house and your business and all those things that you start to acquire as a result of your new lucrative entrepreneurial business of selling drugs in your community. And then finally the police come in when they decide that, okay, now it's time to bust you. And they come in, serve a warrant, bust you, put you in the penitentiary for the next 10, 15 years. You're 21, 22, life destroyed. And then they take everything that you have acquired and divvy it up between those arresting officers, that investigative body, the prosecutor, and the judge. To me, that sounds like a total conspiracy from the judicial end. I mean, it's everybody's involved. The judge is involved, the prosecutor's involved, the investigating officers are involved, you're involved. And now you're in the penitentiary for the next 10 or 15 years, and they are sharing in the dividends of your illegal work. It would look like to me that that should go back to the same community that it was taken from, not given to those police officers and the judge and the prosecutor. But even more so, the thing is that where are the drugs coming from into the community? Who's responsible? It's not the drug dealer, not the little drug dealer in the community. It's not his. He's not bringing no drugs into the community. You don't have, again, no planes, no trains, no nothing, no ships. He can't bring that here. Somebody's bringing it here. And then when it comes, it's like everybody knows, even the police. I'm not gonna get too deep. I'm gonna unravel this thing as we're going through it, but I want you to understand, much of this is common sense and guesstimation, and the rest of it, you'll just have to help me figure this out. Where do the drugs come from? Is it connected to the police? Many of us seem to think that. Don't think this is just my thoughts. This is a collective body of thoughts from many people all across this nation that I've had conversations with, black people that are in the game, that don't want to be in the game, that have no way to get out of the game. They want out of the game and they can't get out of the game. They're trapped. They're in the trap. They're trapping. They're being trapped. We're trapped. Alex Jones said that the United States is a prison planet. It's the main, let's say the center point of the prison. He calls it prison planet. I tend to agree. I think America is a prison for black people. I think that we're locked up in America thinking that we're free, and we're being used to generate the economy and fill the prisons and spend money to support the corporations all across America. I think we are a patsy for America. I think that freedom's never been free. I think that we're still slaves. I don't just think, I know. We're still slaves in America. We used to pick cotton, and that fueled the American economy. Now we sell cocaine, and that fuels the American economy. If you think I'm playing, if you think it doesn't fuel it, then let's do the numbers on it. Let's imagine we're just going to count 1 million crack addicts in America doing nothing but smoking crack around the clock until they can't smoke anymore. You gotta fall out. I've seen crack addicts that have smoked, that stayed awake for days and taking a hit off the crack as often as possible. I'm gonna give them 24-hour binge, a $5 crack rock an hour. What would it be? We're talking about 24 hours times a $5 crack rock, be about $120 a day. Let's break it down. Let's say that the average crack user is spending $100 a day in crack purchases. Now we know he doesn't have a job, but he's spending $100 a day smoking crack. The men, how are they getting the money? How are they getting that $100 in small portions throughout that 24-hour period? A lot of hustling and a lot of crime. Stealing, mostly. That's where they would start. Some may rob and some may even kill. But for the most part, it's mostly stealing. So let's imagine a million crack addicts in the United States spending $100 a day. Isn't that 100 million a day? Let me get my phone and check my calculator. Let me see what that is. Let's say that 100 million a day. And what I'm going to do for you is this. I'm going to reduce that. I'm going to reduce that down to 1 million crack addicts spending $10 a day, just to give you the bottom figure. So that's 10 million a day times 365 days. $3,650 million. $3,650 million. That's at $10 a day. 1 million crack addicts, black. Spending billion. Almost $4 billion at only $10. So if we were to go back and say, well, let's do that times $100 a day, then we would go 100 times 3 billion. And what will we have? Times 100 equals $65 billion a year. $65 billion black folks spending in crack, cocaine. And somebody's making that money, and it's not staying in the black community. It's being distributed all over the nation, because when the drug dealer in the community makes that money and pays for his drugs and then goes out and spends and purchases from his earnings, he doesn't do that in the community. He leaves the community. He goes to areas where white people shop so that he can say, I bought my product where white people live, which means that it's a better product. It costs me more. It's more valuable, and I'm better and different from you. Even though I took your crack-headed money and made it and then went to the white community with it. Even though it was you that stole and robbed and killed for it to give it to me so that I could go and spend this money in the white community and other ethnic races in their communities. The Mexicans, the Hispanics, and the Asians, Japanese. So we take that 65 billion, that illegal 65 billion, and spend it with the major corporations of the world everywhere but inside of our own communities. What's inside of our communities is 1 million crackheads and $65 billion worth of theft, robbery, and murder. And that's just crack. When I talk about mollies, when I talk about marijuana, when I talk about alcohol or cigarettes, we're talking about 65 billion in crack alone. Now, when you think about that, and let's say you add all the rest of that to it, marijuana, heroin, mollies, cigarettes, alcohol, prescription drugs. When I did the math on that, the basic math on that, which I know my figures are not exact, but they're close enough to be able to realize that we're spending as much as $500 billion a year in habitual substances. Marijuana, cocaine, alcohol, tobacco, and the rest. $500 billion. We're in poverty, but we're spending $500 billion. So see, if you really look at us, black people, like I said earlier, and I know I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm gonna get there. When you look at us, you realize that there's an insanity involved in this. There's an insanity in us that's got us doing the most unreasonable things that we could possibly do to our community. We're throwing all of our money away on illegal and habitual substances that are destroying our community at the same time. So we're destroying the community, then getting rid of all the money that we amass and giving it to everybody else, and then coming back to the community and bragging about the little stuff that we have. And from that comes jealousy, hate, envy. And here come the crime. Lying, stealing, and killing. See, black folks in America. Is it white people's fault? Yeah. Totally? No. Do we play a significant part in our own destruction? Yes. Black on black crime, poverty. We have got to figure out what to do about this awful scourge of madness. See, I'm going to get right to the point. I'm going to take me a little break. I'm going to get right to the point and tell you this. When you look at our condition and the things that we do and why we do them and the effects of it and the results of it, you can only come to one conclusion. We're insane. Because if we wasn't, we wouldn't do this. Why? Because it doesn't make any sense. Does it make any sense to kill your own people? Does it make any sense to rob your own family? Does it make any sense to lie to your children? Does it make sense For us to shop in places that we can't afford just to make a point of arrogance so that you can make the people in your community, your family, because you got to realize something. See, we got some issues. Our family is everywhere you look. You think that your immediate family is only your family. No, the whole black community is your family. And once you realize that, that'll be the day that poverty will walk out of your life. You've created your own poverty. You've created your own madness and your own destruction, black people. Let me take that back. No, we've created our own destruction, our own madness, our own insanity. It's how we treat each other and ourselves. We don't like ourselves. We don't like our people. We get mad when we see somebody got something that we don't have. So we get jealous and angry and envious and we want to rob and steal and kill each other for material goods that last no time. They don't even make them to last. They make them so that they break down and you want to steal them and kill somebody for it. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's the stupidest thing on earth. And as a result of all of these different ignorant things that we do, lying, stealing, and killing, black on black crime, and then causing the police to come in and intervene and kill us some more, we sit here and want to protest and march and be angry when we could put an end to this today. Oh, how can we do that, Ramondo? Well, we can stop getting high. We can stop smoking cigarettes. We can stop drinking. We can stop throwing our money away in everybody else's community and start spending in our own. I'm not saying that we're not supposed to share with the rest of America. Yes, but we got to consider ourselves, because we can't do that. You can't take everything and spend it out. You got to keep something in here for yourself. If we just kept 20% of what we earned, we'd be all right. Do you know that we keep less than 5% of our earnings? We spend 95% out. The math that we use for our economy, for our black economy, is insane. It's insanity. It makes no sense. The numbers don't jive. The numbers say poverty. The numbers say crime. So do we get enough into our community to live a non-impoverished life? I think so. We spend $1 trillion a year. Yeah, I think so. I think we do quite well. Everybody else is doing well off of us. So you don't think we can do well with our own? Some people are making whole lives, whole communities, whole ethnic races are living off of us. It's a sad situation. I'm not against the other races of the world. I just want us to see us do right by our own selves, as well as support other races. But then I'd also like to see them support and buy things from us too, which they don't do. They spend no money in our communities. None. Not a dime. Nobody. So with that being said, I think that we need to make some changes about the way we operate in regard to our entrepreneurial activities. And there's so much more to talk about, and I will talk about on the next recording, because even though I'm bringing up all of this, I told you so many layers to this madness that I got to discuss it all and then pull out the things that are relevant to us to save us from our own destruction. So we've got to talk about all of it first. We got to talk about poverty. We got to talk about crime. We got to talk about police brutality. We got to talk about drug sales. We got to talk about education. We got to talk about creating jobs. We got to talk about all these things. And then we got to line it up. And we got to do a balancing act to come up with a way to make it all work for our benefit. And so that we still remain beneficial to the world. Because our involvement is necessary. We're very, very, what can I say? How can I say? What is the right word for it? We are very important when it comes to the salvation of the entire world. If America is great because of our initial work and our spending year by year by year, and the world is able to operate because of the greatness of America, and if America's on our shoulders operating and the rest of the world is being affected as a result, then who's carrying the world? We play a big part in making the world turn. When we sell drugs, those funds are used all over this planet. They go all over the world. They go back to the places where the drugs actually came from. Because that's where they came from. So that means the money's going ultimately and eventually back to those places. It's going to, be passed along the way, but it'll have its final point, and then some more come on through, and we'll continue the operation of drug selling for the world to operate. I think that business is as big as any other huge corporate business, like the car industry, like the housing industry. Nothing sells like drugs. You don't buy a house every day. Drug users buy drugs every single day. They buy drugs more than you buy food. You don't go to the grocery store every single day. Drug users do this every single day. See, the substances are used every day. Alcohol, cigarettes, cocaine, marijuana, everyday use. It's a product that's used every day, especially with addicts. So with that being said, this is a huge business. See, I'm going to go further because next I got to talk about the prison industrial complex. 85% drug-related crimes. How big is drugs then? If 85% of the prison industrial complex is holding prisoners for drug crimes, then let's just say that all the drugs were made legal, or if black people just stopped using drugs, stopped selling drugs, what would happen to the prison industrial complex? 85% of its prisoners were no longer there. What happens to the police department when black people no longer sell drugs or use drugs? When they just decide we're gonna get rid of all our bad habits. First thing is gonna happen is we're gonna save half of $1 trillion a year. Next thing is gonna happen, we're not gonna need the police coming into our communities like that because crime gonna be way down. Black on black crime gonna be almost gone. It'll only be those lunatics and crimes of passion that are still there. We don't need that many police to come and police that. So now the police don't have jobs. They gotta go do something else. See, it's really necessary, when you look at it that way, for crime to exist. It's necessary to have poverty. It's necessary for poverty to create crime so that you can have the prison industrial complex that's going to have 2.5 million people in the United States of America locked up, and 85% of them black and 85% of them in prison for drug-related offenses. Does that sound like a coincidence again? Or like I said in the beginning, or is that intentional? Is that a design? Is that a brilliant? Is that brilliant evil? Isn't that brilliant? To say that you stand for good as a police officer, yet be involved in a criminal conspiracy to destroy a nation of people? This is going to get deep. It's going to be truthful. And that's going to be ugly. Because it's going to make sense. It only makes sense. You put two and two together, you get four. You took what do you see? You see that if crime was eliminated, what would happen to those jobs? What would happen to the police jobs? What would happen to the prison guard jobs? What would happen to the lawyer jobs, the prosecutor jobs? What would happen to the judge's job? What would happen to all these hundreds of thousands of jobs that people have in the Justice Department if crime was eliminated? Especially on this mass level. If it was reduced to 20% because the crimes of money have been eliminated. What would happen to the Justice Department? Why would you need all these big buildings across the nation that house all these judges and stenographers and court reporters and the light bills and the gas bills and the water bills and the transport bills? Just imagine if all that had been reduced and crime had been reduced, better yet, to a level of 20%. What would happen to those people in their jobs? Would they become criminals as a result? Something to think about. What would they do if they had no jobs? Especially those that are bullies and want power. They would definitely, 9 times out of 10, become criminals themselves. See, this thing is real sophisticated. This thing is designed to confuse. It's designed to make you think that these people are criminals and they can do something about it, but won't. They don't want a job. They don't want no education. They don't want nothing. They're just thugs. And so we have to lock them up or kill them. I'm going to get back with you on our next filming of the conversation. We're going to talk about this some more. I'm going to have to do some thinking because I need to get my mind streamlined so that we can get right to the point. I think you're kind of grasping what I'm saying to you here, that there are layers of thick evil. I call it a brilliant evil. It's so smart the way it's constructed that you almost can't see it. You see people doing wrong when it's not the people, it's a system. I'm going to tell you something that you're not going to like. And the more I discuss this, the less that I care about how you feel about it, because the truth is the truth. I want you to be logical and reasonable. I don't want you to use your emotions. Use your brain here. Don't get emotional. Don't get mad. Why get mad about the truth? Let's look at the facts. Let's talk about it. It's a conversation. Let's see what we come up with, and let's see if we can do something about it. If we want to do something about it, and if not, then I guess that God won't bless America. We'll have to say what Jeremiah said: God damn America, and it won't be God damning it. It'll be us. We're damning it. We're damning America. We're damning this place that we claim is so great. America's only as great as its people. Is racism great? Is white supremacy great? Is poverty great? Is crime great? Ain't none of that great. Is America great? Does America have the ability to be great? Are the elements of greatness in America? Yes. If America was great, we wouldn't have to be around the world, slinging wars. If America was that great, the world would look at us and they would say, wow, man, now that's the nation to emulate. The least crime, the greatest of the unifying of all different races of people. The economy is wonderful. They take care of each other. The whole country, the whole nation is a community. They care about one another. They see about one another. And they care about the world. That's what makes a country great. How you gonna have a great country with 2.5 million people in prison and you treat the bottom rung of them like some type of, like, less than animals? America cares more about its animals than it does black people. I'm going to close this out right now, and I'm going to go back and do some more thinking and some more researching and some more, and get to a streamlined point so that I can bring this next edition, this next segment rather, of this conversation to clarity and to a point that we can really understand what's being said here. And at some point, I'm going to be taking calls after this is completely done, and I want to have people to give me feedback and talk about what they think. Everybody's opinion is important. Mine is just mine. It's just my opinion of what I see, and I'm hoping that as a result, I can get some other folks' opinion. I want to talk to what's my guy's name? The white guy that's hillbilly. What's his name? I like that guy. He's talking about how white folks need to wake up and understand that we all one people, man. Stop treating black folks bad. Let's treat each other good. And black folks stop treating white folks bad. We need to figure out how to get along. We don't need to figure out. We already know how to do it. Just take care of one another. It's not that difficult. It's easy to do, really. All you have to do is care. And I'm going to tell you something now. See, some folks would think, well, are you against white folks? No. No, not against white folks. I know a lot of good white folks. I get along with a lot of white folks now. Now, there have been some spooky times because I am paranoid. But for the most part, I know some really good white folks. And they care more about black people than a lot of black people care about each other. So I'm definitely not against white folks. And I told you all before, I'm not against the police like that. My father was the police. That don't mean that makes me that makes me have a good understanding of police. But it at least lets me know that there is some good. He was a good man. He did some things, but he was a good man. And when I was a little boy, I wanted to be a police. Yep. I wanted to help people. That's what I thought police did. Help people. I didn't know that they hassled children. They need to stop that. And I'm not talking about all you police now. I'm not talking about you good police. I'm not talking about you all that are out there to help the communities. I'm not talking about you all. Matter of fact, I commend you all. I think you're fantastic people, exemplary when it comes to your character, those good police. But the rest of you all that harass children and that are looking to put black people in the penitentiary and destroy their lives behind bullshit, that's a whole nother story. See, you're criminals yourself. And other police know who you are, and at some point they're gonna root you out. They're gonna route you out rather, because you're giving a bad name to everything, and you're making this whole nation get into an uproar about police violence on unarmed black people. Thank you all. We're gonna talk some more. We're gonna have some more about this conversation later.